Welcome to SEL in EDU.
where we discuss all things social and emotional in education.
I'm Krista.
And I'm Craig, and we are your hosts on this journey.
All right, SEL and EDU family. We back, baby. We back. Krista, how you holding up these days?
I am doing fabulous. It's been a wonderful weekend. It's a Monday right now, but I got a chance to see both of my boys and gearing up for my favorite season, sweater weather, hoodies. Yep, like the very nice sweater you've got going on, tea. So this is my favorite time of year. I'm ready to go. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. The weather outside is a little gray. It's been gray all day. So that just means, you get cozy. You miss work or halfway do it if you work from home. Just whatever you want to do. But just be cozy. In the words of Beyonce, just be cozy.
Yes, totally agree. And so we're here with a friend of ours who I'm excited for everybody to get a chance to meet. So let me jump in with his bio, and then we will dig into the goodness of our show. Nikolas Tsamoutalidis has been an SEL practitioner in various titles for over 30 years. However, irrespective of his titles and accomplishments in his personal or professional life, for which there are many, I might add, his passion is to support, care, and love others wherever they are in life. He believes that in every encounter we give or drain life, there is no neutral exchange. And in these exchanges, deposit seeds of faith, hope, and love. And regardless of beliefs, creeds, philosophies, etc., to treat everyone with inherent value, worth, and purpose. I am so happy to welcome Niko to SEL in EDU. How are you today, Niko?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Well, so we'll let the listening audience know that you and I have known each other for about a year and a half now. And one of the things that I really admire about you is your deep commitment to students and meeting them where they're at and giving them the supports that they need to be successful. And so I would just like to jump right in and have you share about the Wellness Center initiatives that you've been working on in your district and how you have been working to really support students who need it most.
Sure. Yes. Thank you, Krista. I appreciate that. And I just wanted to share that although I'm the one speaking right now, it's definitely a collaborative team effort, and really appreciate my former boss, who's just a visionary and very creative. And we have, complimented each other over the years because he creates, he's a visionary, and I need to take some time and kind of dwell in that. And then once it clicks for me, I love with systems, processes, procedures, and really executing the plan. That's something I'm really passionate about, and not just letting amazing ideas just stay on the table, dead on arrival. And so, that's what I love to do. And so we started this journey at our high school, and I would say probably the most or close to it diverse high school in Eastern Pennsylvania. We're definitely a microcosm of America, just under 3,000 kids. And, back in 2017, we started this journey of, our teachers are throwing some fastballs, but, what's going on with our kids? They don't seem to be getting it. Things aren't sticking. And so we started that journey of just really educating ourselves on trauma, on resiliency, on the science of that. We're really overwhelmed in a good way with the Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris video on the TED Talk. And from that point, we just started educating ourselves, forming a team together, and taking that journey. And as we all know, COVID hits right before we're about to open up and unleash an actual physical space of our Liberty Wellness Center, which we created in the library. And during that time, although we provided various services to the best that we could, it was kind of put on hold. And then we brought it back when we were able to come back with mass and a hybrid model. And so we have a very robust, a comprehensive system of tier 1, 2, and 3 supports, and really has taken off in the last 2 years as we brought brains together to really create, the specific needs of the culture of our community, of our school, and what our kids really need. And I'm really proud about that. I'm really proud that we have embedded things that we do throughout the school that every single kid gets, regardless if you access our wellness center or not. And just really having a mindset from that journey from becoming a trauma-informed school to really a school of wellness where we believe as we support and walk things out with our kids, and there's even something there for our staff, that it becomes a place of healing to whatever degree that is needed and that we're able to do. So I love our concept. I believe in it. And I think, I don't know how some schools do it today without that support in order to help kids to learn and be better humans, as we always say.
Wow. What a gift you are giving to so many young people across, your region. That's pretty amazing. Could you share a little bit more insight for those who are with us about, well, what makes up your wellness center? So what would one find in going, visiting, and taking part?
Sure. Well, I appreciate you asking that, Craig. And one of the things that we'll start with really our tier one, which is how can we perhaps, cast a wide net on all our kids and maybe not have a student need some of those other services. So one thing we do tier one is I've always wanted to do this, and the pandemic came, and in that moment gave us the freedom for my boss to say, all right, unleash this. And what I mean by that is I'm a big believer in pausing before you learn. And we teach our kids how to take a break. So for example, we have 4 blocks, and before every class, the entire school has a 2-minute pause 4 times a day. And so we teach and we educate people that imagine when the kids came back from the pandemic, and for some of these kids, they were in homes with their families, and that's it. And there was never more than a couple of people in their lives for like a year or so because of different situations, different health scenarios. Now they come back, even with masks, and even on a hybrid model, you're moving through hallways, and there is no way you're doing 6-foot distancing. There is no way you're not bumping into people. And just the natural flow of half of our school means just about 1,500 kids. So one of the things we implemented was a 2-minute pause. And why is that significant for every kid? Because sometimes people feel they need to go to the hills and the mountains of Tibet and meditate for hours upon time. But really, the science shows if you can steal 5 minutes a day and just pause on everything and just relax your breathing, you have the potential, the science shows this, you have the potential to decrease your anxiety by over 22% in a day. I think that's amazing. 5 minutes a day. So tier one is, can we capture some kids who are battling with some low-level anxiety? And by practicing the 2-minute pause times 4, we're stealing 8 minutes a day. So a little bit more than 5 to really help out. One of the other things that we do is wonderful work as we're establishing it with Krista, is building capacity with our teachers to build community and connection. That's always the focal point of having kids believe that everywhere they go, 4 times a day, every single place is a community. And so we give our teachers strategies and resources. We really implore on them about the significance of having a restorative school and a restorative classroom where we can start the week and end the week. Something as simple as circling up, having everyone feel an equality, and really check in, whether it's academic or personal. Well, those are some of our tier one services that we think ultimately, what's the goal of all this is for a student not to feel disconnected and lonely, alone. So that's huge to do on that level. As we move on, if we feel that we come together to our weekly student assistance program and we see that perhaps we're doing all this tier one stuff, but there's some students that need a little bit more, we've created over the last 2 years a very robust tier 2 service, which is we have groups, and we really started seeing, well, what do our kids need? And when we first started, we had about 2 or 3 groups going. Now we have about 16 groups going on. I love that we fill a specific space, which is like a conference room area. We fill it every single block of every single day with multiple groups on depression, on anxiety, on mentoring, on anger management, on vaping, We have a group for our ELL students. I am a former ELL student. I was not born in this country, and being able to help our first gen kids who might be in this country for a week, a month, a year, and just helping them reintegrate into the ways of our country, of our society, and helping them with access and their families is huge. We also have groups for domestic violence. We have groups for our LGBTQIA plus students. We have a self-awareness and management group. So all different groups as we walk this journey out is what really do our kids need? And so I'm very proud of our tier 2 system. Then when we have our kids where, you know what, some of our kids are really battling through some stuff, our kiddos, our tier 3 is basically 2 different agencies. And it's basically one-on-one counseling and therapy. And this other, the second agency we have on that third tier is they also are able to provide, if needed, psychiatric care and med management. So you have the one pathway, which is counseling and therapy, and the other pathway on tier 3 that they need the same, but with med management and psychiatric care. So really proud of the different opportunities we have for our kids to be able to get wrapped around and help form community and to help grow. And let me also mention that in all that, we also have a peace room. And so you could be a student that, hey, all I need sometimes is like once a day or twice a day to take a break and regulate myself. So we actually have a peace room in that area where kids we have a whole system of how you qualify for it. And it's never become an escape mechanism. It's never become a place that's been abused. And in that space, we have an opportunity for kids to take about 10 to 12 minutes, and we have a whole system in place. If it gets longer than that, what's really going on here? Maybe you need to talk to someone. Maybe you need to take you to a guidance counselor. And who mans that peace room are grad students from a local university, and they are our grad level occupational therapy students who are able to man that area. And also they are able to go into areas as well and go into classrooms and teach kids about regulating themselves, executive functioning skills, communication and social skills. And that happens sometimes proactively as they go into different classrooms, or right there in the peace room if our students who are looking to regulate may need the support of a young adult who they can relate to and look at, hey, you're like 23, 24, you're only a couple years older than me. There's usually an immediate connection. So that's a really quick thumbnail description of our wellness center. And I hope I wasn't pontificating too long.
No, not at all. This is why we knew we needed to hear the work that you're doing and that everybody else in the district and in your building are working towards, because when people say, well, how do we do this? How do we create this system? I think that Liberty High School within the Bethlehem School District offers a great example of this. You mentioned systems early on. And I know for me, I appreciate the value of having some mindful time, but I don't know how to facilitate that. And I'm not quite comfortable facilitating that. So your building has taken ownership of that. And they play music, some calming music for 2 minutes over the loudspeaker for everybody. Or there's maybe, I think I remember hearing a poem once or a quote. And so people can use that time to just recenter themselves, or if they want to do some meditation, it's a chance for them to practice their own regulation. And I think that one of the themes that comes up is this idea of giving students an opportunity to feel that they belong and they're part of the community, even when they're feeling dysregulated, even when they're feeling disconnected. You're providing opportunities for them to form these groups and know that you're not alone. You're having these feelings, these thoughts, these experiences, but you don't have to go it alone, because there's lots of us in similar situations and we can support one another. I know, having talked with you before, you were able to share some of the data, the feedback that you were getting from students and how valuable that time was. Would you be able to share some of the feedback that you've heard from students who've used the Wellness Center, the groups, and the Peace Room, and the impact that had on them personally?
Absolutely. And let me just say, as all of this has been birthed out of just really, I wouldn't say mistakes, but where a year or so ago we saw, here we are in January, and we have no more slots for our therapists. And so that prompted us to think about, that's frustrating to see we have kids and we need to land the plane and they're circling over and over and we can't land it. And this is January. So we really had to go back and say, let's get creative. Let's really problem solve this. Let's really brainstorm, because this is not okay. This is not okay. We can't just keep being part of, everybody's talking about it, but what are we doing about it? So that's when we dug deep and we started forming partnerships with the tier 2 service that I mentioned. And really, just as recent as this morning, we met with 2 young men, ages 19 and 20, doing amazing things at our local university. One of them is a Hispanic male. Second young man was an African-American male, and they want to reach out and mentor our kids. And they have a whole team of a fraternity of young men and young ladies that really have a multicultural fraternity that want to come into our kids. So we just keep reloading. I'll date myself and say, we don't stop because we can't stop, as P. Diddy said once. And so we just keep going. But let me get to your question, because what really excites us the most is, that's another thing we're learning about. Sometimes you do a lot and you got to measure it. You got to collect data. And what's the feedback loop? What are the kids saying besides what you think is happening? So how good is the stuff we're doing? And so I just want to share some data with you, because this totally excites us in the fact that we know that hope levels are rising, and some of the other destructive ideation, whether it's suicidal, homicidal, violent, you name it, is decreasing. And so one of the things, as we know, the number one research-based intervention that is able to help any human through trauma or any difficulty is the belief that I know there's one person in my life that has my back, that can non-judgmentally be there for me and listen. Doesn't mean they agree with me, but I know they have my back. And so we took more than half of our top tier students, tier 3, who are students with some of the most challenging scenarios going on right now in their life. And so we figured, let's go after that. Let's see what our top tier kids, along with some of our other tiers that I mentioned, tier 2 and Peace Room, what are they saying? And so a simple question that we asked, a couple of them, I'll go over some of them, is that I trust the adult that meets with me. That goes right after what I just said. 97% of our kids said they strongly agree that they have that person that they can trust in their life in our building. That's huge. We had a question when we asked, my grades are improving because of help I received from the Wellness Center. Well, look, we only got 50% of the kids agreeing or strongly agreeing to that. But you know what? That's half. When I'm not well emotionally or psychologically, yeah, my grades are going to be a challenge. We're going to suffer. But we're saying half of our kids are saying that they're getting better. So we know that's a focal point. How can we improve that? Here's what I love. I'm more hopeful about my future. 82% of our students said, I strongly agree or agree with that statement. That's huge. And I like to tell our staff and anyone, and you as well, Krista and Craig, who do wonderful things for young people and kids today, and really our colleagues, adults and whatnot, by virtue of what's going on today, when we're able to provide these type of things, the phrase that I've been imploring upon people this year is that you're a hope dealer. You are dealing hope when you're working with young people today and colleagues that are the tip of the spear that are keeping our society, our community, and our country from imploding. So you're hope dealers. We asked, the adult who I meet with cares about me. 95% of our kids agreed or strongly agree with that statement. The adult who I meet with helps me solve my problems. 92% agreed or strongly agreed with that statement. I'm a better student in person because of the adult that meets with me. 75% of the kids agreed or strongly agreed. I feel more connected to Liberty High School because of the services I receive. 68% of our students. And my therapist, counselor, mentor, occupational therapist, whomever, etc., whoever fills that role, likes and understands me. 95% of students agree with that statement. So if you notice, a lot of the things we're going after was relational. What is that looking in this data? And also, how are procedures and processes working? Because ultimately, what are they there for? They're there for an education. This data is showing us that our school, for the most part, for the kids that we're polling who have the most significant challenges and are receiving services, that our school, for the most part, is not a source of their pain. This is the kind of stuff that decreases these violent acts that we have seen. And we have the opportunity for our kids to be well and do amazing things. Because we always tell our kids, you were created for a purpose, on purpose, for a purpose. And so this is just awesome, awesome data. We're excited about it. We're gonna keep doing it.
I was just waiting to see, Krista have a follow up on a follow up on a follow up. So I was like,
No, but I get to see him more regularly than you do.
okay, okay.
So I know you're going to come out with something really good too.
Oh, it's we'll see. I appreciate the fact that you are sharing some really amazing and data points that highlights how when a district or when a community comes together and really rallies resources, young people win. It sounds like it, and so they're continuing to win. I'm curious, how do you get everyone on the same page? How do you get parents, and how do you get other educators and school leaders? There may be some folks who are naysayers are like, look, I don't like, we got to get our literacy scores up. We got to get our mathematics scores up. Science, STEM, we don't have time for this. So how do you ensure that there is appropriate buy-in, training, and support for all those involved in this process?
Yeah, that's a great question, Craig. And by no stretch, I'm going to sit here and say that we've arrived or we're where we need to be. But we just keep pushing the yard marker. We keep getting first downs. I would tell you, you're absolutely correct. It's attacking mindsets. One of the mindsets I like to get right to the point was, well, we're here for an education, and absolutely that's critically important, right? But we definitely don't want to just educate intelligent people who are not good humans. If you think about it, the Nazis were pretty educated for the most part. Scientists, doctors, physicians, and look at the terrible things they did last century. So we're looking to shift the mindset of this isn't just soft skills, they're critical life skills. And we want to integrate the academics with the emotional wellness together. And so it's not like one world lives over here, the other one is over there. And so we try to integrate a lot of some of our literacy training and the different things that we're doing in our district, like reading by grade 3 is a huge initiative for elementary kids. Well, how does that infuse into some of our programs we do, whether it's the Leader in Me, our restorative practices, that we infuse that together, that it's not polar opposites. And we bring some of the directives that lead our district in these different initiatives together. And so how do we bring that? So when we integrate ourselves, when we put out the trainings to teachers, whether it's a building wide or district wide, you're not dealing with two different silos. I can tell you that I think because of what has happened, as much as it's, how do you get people on board and families, it is very rare to sit in a room today with, let's just say, I'll just throw out a random number. I don't know why I picked this number. I'll just say it. In a room of 10 people, that either someone in that room isn't personally being impacted by some challenges that battlefield the mind, or they have a loved one or a close person that can identify and relate to that. So at the same time, while you're changing mindsets, it's also fertile ground because of where we're at right now. That it is a rarity if someone can say that there's someone I love or someone I care about, someone close to me, that isn't challenged right now with what we're talking about and what we've seen. So I think that is allowing the opportunity for people to at least receive and reflect, and perhaps be, if the word is a motivator or inclined to say, yeah, it's important to build community in my classroom in the midst of while I'm teaching my lesson, in the midst of my instruction, how I fuse that together. And that's the big thing. So many times, I don't know why, it's just maybe we're just learning, but integration is so key and important that one isn't more important than the other. They're both equally important. And look, our kids, we don't want them going to college and not being able to manage themselves, not be able to be aware of themselves, being terrible in management with relationships. And we just continue to beat the same drum. Kind of like before we did this, my former boss was really big on two words: passion and purpose. Before kids leave in their fourth and final year, we're going to help them identify what their passion is and what their purpose is. So that was messaging. So we do a lot of messaging to really change mindsets. To your question, Craig, we're getting there, but we're not where we need to be, but we just keep pushing it.
I think one of the important things that you reinforced there is that you're all working towards that same vision. And there is that ongoing communication and that common language. And you mentioned that we can all relate to this, somebody close to us, and developing that sense of empathy and perspective taking. And I'm going to move into an area that usually Craig goes into, but I'm going to tiptoe into that area myself. As an administrator of wellness, we often talk about how we need to keep ourselves well and healthy, because we're modeling it for our colleagues and for our students, but we're not immune to the same things that they're going through as well. And admittedly, I've been privy to have a conversation where you've talked to me about blue zones. And I thought maybe you'd be willing to share some of your own personal practices and highlight some of your ethnic heritage and how that connects to your own personal philosophy around wellness and well-being.
Yeah, I appreciate that question, and definitely going to have an opportunity to bring some personal stuff out, which I believe is very comfortable in doing, because that breaks down walls between people. To level of vulnerability that you're willing to display. And so one thing I haven't mentioned with this whole wellness push is that we've educated our teachers on vicarious trauma, and we've also have different individuals in our building that champion different self-care practices, if you will, that they invite other colleagues to be a part of. Some engage in it, some don't. Some just say, I have my own stuff, or I don't want to be in the building any longer than I need to. So we have people that are doing book clubs, they're walking, yoga, massage therapists. We have our librarian, she's a massage therapist. And so different things that we have going on. These are just really quick examples. Because when you splash around in the mud, this is messy business, you're going to get dirty. And so how do we keep ourselves, a saying that my former boss loved, I didn't invent it, but I would say it all the time, is you can't give what you don't have. And in our profession, if you're really good, you're a big time giver. And you're not only a giver, but you're a doer. And we are terrible. Maybe I shouldn't say everything, but most of us are terrible at taking care of ourselves. And so I just wanted to share, and Krista, you and I talked about this, that I have my own practices, and I thought I was doing pretty good. The last 2 years have been really tough. The last 6 months have been really tough. And the thing about self-care is to always allow your practice to evolve depending on the intensity or the life circumstances that happen. So the last 6 months, I've had a lot of loss in my life, had a lot of transitions in my life. And just like you learn through trauma-informed care, you may think you're good, and maybe you are peaceful and you love what you do, even the intensity and the stress of it, but your body sooner or later is going to tell you something. And so one of the things and the practices that I've incorporated, and it really brings me back to my father recently passed away in March. I was one of my older brother and I were the two primary caretakers, because our two brothers lived out of state. And my father used to always tell me, I'm like, oh, here we go. He keeps telling me about the specific island that he's from that I have visited. It's, as you mentioned, one of the 6 blue zones, the island of Ikaria, as we say in Greek. It's Ikaria in English. And in that, he would always talk about, and in that, there's specials and everything on it. On that island, they forget to die. Everybody's routinely centenarians in their hundreds. He would always tell me all these things, and you're in the hustle and bustle of work, and you come to pick him up from his dialysis appointment and drop him off home. But there was, at the moment, I knew, but I wasn't receiving at the time, but it stuck here that he was dropping kernels and nuggets of wisdom. And so I mentioned my father passed, and recently, it's almost like rekindling his memory, and it makes me think about all the stories he would tell me. Is I've really embraced, as a self-care practice, I've really embraced some of the things that they incorporate from a dietary standpoint. Because everything in that island conspires to have you at your optimum level of human functioning. So that's one of the new self-care habits that I have, is really trying to follow what they're doing. And I also wanted to share, in addition to that I've changed some of my practices in regards to, I start off every morning with a 30-minute meditation, not like an Eastern type of meditation, but it is something that I silence myself and I get into that breathing. And really all these things are to really have the wonderful chemicals in our body flowing, the endorphins, the serotonin, the dopamine, the oxytocin, and really be mindful of just really following where your body's at, like a body scan throughout the day with things. So one of the things I wanted to share, and everything we talked about, when you talk about the wellness center, and you talk about what we're doing in classrooms and all that, here's why I want to bring it full circle. Whether you're studying the people of the island of Icaria, whether you're studying the people in Sardinia, whether you're studying the people in Costa Rica, whether you're studying the people in Okinawa, Japan, or there's actually a small community in California that's a blue zone, the common theme and thread that runs through all that is, yes, the 95-year-olds in these places are about as fit as 45, 50-year-olds in America, in the US. But the common thread in all that, more so than the climate and also their culinary habits, is that they have such strong community and connection. And I'm a big believer in this. If you can form concentric circles of community and connection for students in a school within various classrooms, if we can do that as adults, whether it's our work friends, our personal friends, our faith-based friends, if we subscribe to a faith or whatnot, the more concentric circles of community you can form, science shows you live 8 years longer, barring some type of tragedy. So we know this. It's something that I get rekindled back to as a kid growing up and coming here as an immigrant, how strong the roots of communal gatherings, of meals and all that. And so that's something that is so clear to me. And that is something that, I don't know, I'll throw a random number out there, but I believe half of our mental health challenges will be eradicated if we had stronger community connection. I really believe that. Because if I may say, one last point is, I think a lot of this is people are isolated and lonely. And I think because of that, right, wrong, or indifferent, then you start perceiving that you're unwanted, uncared for, or unloved. But when I'm in community and in connection, there's a good possibility, I mean a healthy one, there's a good possibility I'm not going to think that way about myself, because I have other people affirming me, encouraging me, being in it with me. So I think that's huge.
I am curious, with all that you do already, all that you've just shared, in the midst of it all, what would you consider to be your superpower?
My superpower?
I didn't warn him of this question. He's like, my superpower? What?
As far as, if I understand your question, Craig, like where I receive my passion, my energy, my outlook, if I'm understanding you?
No, it's a question that we ask everyone. And so the question very simply is, in this world where we have millions of people who have their own journeys, doing their own thing, many of them are driven by purpose and passion and faith in something greater than I, universal I. For you, I'm curious, what would you consider to be your superpower in doing, in influencing, supporting, advancing the very world that you are in every day?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. And it's clear for me now. I thought that's what you meant. And so I just wanted to make sure. And I would say, Craig, just really my faith. That's where I get my superpower. It's leaning into um, a greater power and strength than my own, and um, in that loving people, and in that seeing everyone, whether you believe in a higher power or not, whether you believe in God or not, whether you believe in Christ or not, like I do, that regardless whether you do or not, I look at everyone as an image bearer. Even if you don't believe in a higher power, in my mind, I look at you with an invisible 10, and you are a child of the Most High. And that's okay if you don't believe that. I'm not here to impress upon you my own beliefs, but I start from a place like that. You have value, you have worth, you are loved, and you are a 10. Even when we do some foolish things, you're still a 10 because you come from royal lineage. And that's my mindset when I look at someone. And people might say, go fly a kite. So it's really, I have to tap into that power and strength because I know what happens when I try to do it in my own strength, in my own power, in my own views, in my own opinions. I usually end up doing something foolish by the hour. So by no means have I arrived in that either, but that is my mindset with every encounter, like Krista said earlier, that in every encounter, I want to give life. I don't want to have a neutral exchange. I don't want to take anything or drain something from someone. Have I perfected that? Nope. But every moment I try to, and when I mess it up, I try to make it right with that encounter with that person. So that's my superpower. It's not of me. And I just try to just spread it and share it just by how I talk to you, how I treat you, how I look at you. So there you have it.
This is one of those things that I feel that, and I feel this about both of you, that you're light bearers, you're like lighthouses. And you, when both of you, when people are in your presence, they feel worthy, like they feel seen and heard. And so that's why I was excited to get Niko, to get you on and to meet Craig. And I think that too, there's a lot of synergy here beyond even this podcast that I'll get to tell you guys about and kind of connect you on some things that I know that your desire to be of service for young people and the ways that you do that. And I think that you model the way for people, and just providing those insights that you did on here's what we wanted to do. Here's how, not only here's how I show up every day, but here's how we make it part of the system. And we build capacity and investment along the way. And we create this place where our young people want to be and feel seen and valued and heard. And I think that that's what we want. That's what I want for my kids. That's what I want for all of the students out there trying to figure out their passion and their purpose. So I'll hand it back over to you, Craig.
Okay.
I'll be like, okay, and I'll pass it back over.
Yeah, I was like, that's something. All right.
Should I pick the baton back up and run home with it?
You can. It's all right.
Okay. I haven't run anywhere lately. So I mean this in a very theoretical sense. Niko, if people were listening to this and they wanted to get a hold of you to find out more, what might be the best way that people could reach out to talk with you more, to hear more about the work that you're doing within Bethlehem?
Sure. I would think of two ways. Recently, I found myself, as I've been in this new role the last 2 months, that have been a little, I've been inspired by somebody. And normally I give emails and I can do that as well. But there's somebody who's a best-selling author, and he wrote a book a couple of years ago, and his book was titled, his name was Bob Goff, is Bob Goff. And in his book, it's called Love Everybody Always. And in it, he had the audacity, in a New York Times bestseller book, on the back, he literally put his cell phone number and said, call me if you ever want to connect. And people have called him collect from prison, and he's accepted, and he's talked to people and helped them. So Bob's an interesting guy. He's inspired me. So I would say, to get a hold of me, I'm going to be like Bob. And I'm going to give my cell phone number. And then if you want to email me, that's fine too. But I don't know, is it okay to share my information right now?
Yes, be like
Yeah,
Bob. I kind of like that. And
I
I
want to
might
be like
adopt
Bob.
that. Be like Bob.
Bob's amazing. So even if I don't pick up at that moment, someone leaves a message, I will call you back. And so my cell number is 610-360-4898. And my email, I'm going to spell it for you with that crazy long last name.
Bring it on.
That's it. Here we go. The first letter is N as in Nick. The second letter is T as in Tom. SAMOUTALIDIS at basdschools.org. So you see, after that, people are probably going to take option one. It's a lot easier. Just going to call the guy.
Well, and we will put these links in the notes section of the podcast. And I can tell that you're used to spelling out your last name as you give your email. So thank you for that,
Yeah.
for people who are listening.
And thank you for this opportunity in order to really give out that information, because one of the things we believe is we're not holding the secret sauce. This is about humanity. And so, like, we learned a lot the last 6 years. So if we can make your journey quicker and easier and better and kind of give you some suggestions, ideas, or maybe possibly respond or answer your questions, why not? Why not help other people and speed up the journey for what you need to do for your school, for your kids, or whatnot? Why not?
Thank you. That's the hope of the SEL and EDU podcast, that we can connect people who are all dedicated to doing the work. So thank you for your time and your willingness to share with us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's always awesome seeing you, Krista. And Craig, it is a pleasure meeting you through Zoom and to have a conversation with you. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Thank you as well for being hope dealers that you are.
Oh, well, thank you. Just cheesy.
I'm like, I wish we had the video still, because we're both
Uh,
like all smiles right now.
yeah. All right, SEL and EDU family. It has been another incredible conversation we have had today. You need to make sure you stay connected. And if you feel, and you should, moved, reach out, because wellness centers should belong in every school community we serve across the nation. Every young person should have access, and that is the goal. Like, let's make sure that young people have access to the tools and resources and people they need in order to become even greater young people. So until we come back, young people across the SEL and EDU family, we just want you to continue to hold yourself real tight, and especially since it's going to have a little chill in the air. You just hold yourself tight, honey, and continue to do all the great things that add great light to those around us. And we'll be back soon. We love you. Y'all take care.